Well, hello everyone and welcome to another episode in this Tributaries series supporting the River Tweed series. And today we're looking at Leader Water, and the estuary of Leader Water is just on the other side of the river there behind me. Welcome back to all my regular viewers, and a warm welcome to any new viewers here for the first time. Leader Water is recorded as having its source in the Lammermuir Hills, situated just southeast of Edinburgh. The river's feeder burns are Headshaw Burn and Mount Milburn. They combine near Oxton and become Leader Water. This is also near where two main roads converge as well, the main A697 from Morpeth and the A68 from Darlington. Well, before we begin the journey down Leader Water, right at the source of the river is this particular place, the Bird Garden of Scotland. Owned and run by a chap called Mark Haillay. He's agreed to allow us in and do a short interview. So let's go and meet him now.
So my name's Mark Haillay. I'm a potter. I've been potting for 40 years. My husband and I bought this field and this little cottage on it 13 years ago with the aim of opening a zoo, bird gardens. My husband's been a zookeeper all his life and has worked at lots of zoos all around the world, and we've been together on field trips to Madagascar to work with saving the Madagascar pochard. And then we thought it was time we set up our own breeding facility for endangered birds. And the easiest way to do that was actually make a zoo, so that's a visitor attraction, so that there's an income. So we bought a 9-acre field and planted it up with about 8,000 trees and paths and various aviaries and exhibits. We've got lots and lots of plans on the horizon. Just now our big news is the flamingos, which we reared hatched from eggs and then reared the chicks. Our big news is we're granddaddies now because they've laid some eggs of their own. So we're very hopeful that by the end of the summer we'll have more than 10 flamingos, which is very exciting. I don't know, future plans. We're planning to get penguins. We've started building a penguin pond. We've got quite a lot of owls, which are off show, so we're going to need to build owl aviaries. Most of the animals are rescue. They've either been confiscated by the RSPCA or they've been confiscated by customs and excise at airports and ports. And they keep them until they're out of quarantine. And then once they've got through quarantine, the airport gets in touch with organisations like us and asks if we can house them. Sometimes we can and sometimes we can't. Sometimes we have to say no. We work with the Parrot Trust. They get a lot of parrots come in and they're helping us. We're housing a lot of their parrots for them, and they're going to build the facilities to house them. So down by the visitor centre we've got one large paddock which hasn't been used yet, and that's where the parrot aviaries are going to go. I think there's something like 20 macaws coming once the aviaries are built. We're open every day of the year, apart from Christmas and New Year's Day, from 10 till 4:30.
Many thanks to Mark for agreeing to give us the interview and allowing us to look around. From the confluence of its two feeder burns, Leader Water flows south, passing the village of Oxton. Within half a mile it winds its way past the busy roundabout at Carfrae Mill, where the two main roads north converge. A 12th century coaching inn stands adjacent to this junction, offering good food and accommodation to passing travellers, as it has done for centuries. Leader Water then sneaks its way under the A68 almost unnoticed, becoming sandwiched between the two main roads, where it remains for the next 14 miles. Before that, and only 4 miles south of Carfrae Mill, Leader Water reaches the border town of Lauderdale. It is widely accepted that the names are connected, and which came first I'm not entirely sure. Leader, Lauderdale, you can see the similarity. In the ancient Brittonic language, Lauderdale means a washing or bathing place. The valley that surrounds this town is known as Lauderdale. The original settlement here was higher up on the hills. The present-day location of the town was due to King David I building a kirk here. Lauderdale was once surrounded by walls with gates and the Roman road Deer Street running right through it. Lauderdale was made a royal borough by William the Lion during his reign from 1165 to 1214. The kirk that was built by King David I was replaced in 1673 and lies on the south edge of an unusual high street, which comprises of a wide street split into two with a row of buildings separating both. Numerous new housing developments make up the town today, with some local services, but mostly surviving as a commuter town for Edinburgh. To the east of Lauder and situated on the banks of Leader Water lies the impressive Thirlstane Castle. Built between 1587 and 1590 and the home of the prominent Scottish Maitland family. The site was occupied by a much older fortified tower that had occupied the site from the 12th century. The Maitland family came to England from Normandy in 1066 with William the Conqueror and were given lands in Northumberland for their loyalty. Around 1250, Sir Richard Maitland married Avacia, the heiress of Thirlstane, which prompted the family to move north of the border. Their principal residence was Old Thirlstane Castle, 2 miles away, on the banks of Boundary Water, which joins the Leader just south of Lauder. By the mid-1500s, the Maitland family had risen considerably in wealth and power. Sir William Maitland was secretary to Mary Queen of Scots, and his younger brother, Sir John Maitland, was Lord Chancellor to James VI. It was Sir John who purchased the land where the present-day castle stands in 1587. He abandoned Old Thirlstane Castle and built a 5-storey keep with 4 round turrets at each corner as the new base for the family. In 1670, Sir John's grandson, also called John, but now the Duke of Lauderdale, had the castle extended by adding the 2 wings built in sandstone. Sir William Bruce was responsible for the design. In 1840, James Maitland, the 9th Earl of Lauderdale, added 2 further extensions to the ends of the previous ones, but built in granite rather than sandstone. Architects David Bryce and William Byrne designed these additions. During the First World War, the castle served as a military hospital, and in the Second World War it housed evacuees from St Hilary's Girls' School in Edinburgh. Captain Gerald Maitland-Carew, the grandson of the 15th Earl, became the owner in 1972, and in 1984 put the castle in the hands of the Thirlstane Castle Trust. After years of fundraising and renovation, it was finally opened to the public in 2016. The castle is open from May to October. A guided tour is available to show you around the opulent staterooms. There are endless events throughout the year, such as classic cars and the BBC Antiques Roadshow. The castle accommodates traditional border events as well, and weddings and other functions in addition. I have been given access to film the castle, both inside and the outside, and so let's go and see this magnificent building now. Many thanks to Edward and the staff at Thirlstane for allowing me to film and include it in this programme. Leader Water continues to wind its way south and east for approximately 6 miles, never wandering far from the side of the A68. The river meanders its way through quiet, open countryside until it reaches a hidden gem here in the borders called Carolside House. Driving on the A68 from the north as I am, the turning into Carolside House is quite dangerous, especially if there's something behind you. The easier approach is from the south. Once you've left the A68, a short drive brings you to Carolside House, an 18th century mansion house. The house itself is rather grand, but the hidden gem I mentioned is the garden of this house. It's reported to be the finest private garden in Britain and world renowned because of its old and rare Gallica roses. The property began as a tower house back in the 1500s and was replaced with this Georgian mansion house. The present owners, Anthony and Rose Foyle, have agreed to let me look around the gardens and give a short interview. So let's go and explore this rare Scottish treasure.
Well, my name is Rose Foyle and this is Carolside House, and we have here a national collection of Gallica roses. My husband and I came here 35 years ago with our children, very small children, and I had gardened all my life from a very small girl and really particularly loved roses, a love that I got from my grandmother. And I started to collect old roses, in particular the mosses, the albas, the damasks, the Gallica roses. I was collecting really all of them, and I never meant Carolside to have a national collection, but I was so obsessed by them and adored them so much. And eventually a man called Francois Joyot from Normandy came, who had the greatest collection of Gallicas in the world. He had tried really to collect what Empress Josephine would have had at Malmaison outside Paris. And this really interested me very much. And he liked what I'd done. This is probably about 20 years ago or more. And said that this really ought to be a national collection because it was of historical importance. And by this time my children were more grown up and I had time to do this. So I made it into a national collection, and it is the only one in the UK. And we are still collecting. We also love the perennial herbaceous borders here. We grow vegetables. It's rather like a French potager, some people say. But I think probably the roses are what is most important to us. And still I collect, if I can find any more room in my garden to put them. So Carolside is open May to the end of August every year, Saturdays, Sundays, or by appointment. Groups come here from all over the world to see our roses. We're open from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and hope very much that people will continue to come to see our collection, of which we are very proud.
I must say it's one of the best gardens I've ever visited in my 70 years. And it really, if you're into horticulture or just need to walk around a beautiful space, this has to be the place to come. It's been raining heavily here all morning, so they're perhaps not looking at their best today, but I can assure you it's, as you'll see from the footage I've done here, it's quite stupendous, the effect. And the roses are all around the edge, and then the inner part of the garden, as you'll see, are all herbaceous perennials. Many thanks to Anthony and Rose for their participation and allowing me to film and include the gardens in this programme. The gardens are open from the 1st of May to the 1st of September on a weekend, or by appointment if you wish to visit midweek. A link is in the video description below the video if you wish to contact them and arrange a visit. It's listed in the Historic Houses Association, so you can also contact them through that. It's only a short distance from Carolside House to the next town of Thirlstane. There was a settlement here in Thirlstane long before the Romans, and it was occupied by the Votadini tribe. Yes, you heard me correctly. For the first time in this series, we come across a body of land owned by another tribe apart from the Selgovies. Apparently there is evidence of Votadini cave paintings on the hills above the town. Another point of interest in Thirlstane is the ruins of a tower house which belonged to Thomas Learmont, better known as Thomas the Rhymer. He had the gift of prophecy, as we heard about in the last episode. The ruins are surrounded by a variety of commercial units today, and a rather enterprising business established adjacent to it called Rhymer's Tower Coffee Shop and Restaurant. The A68 trunk road only touches the west edge of Thirlstane, leaving the high street uncluttered by heavy traffic, which adds to its charm. There is a mix of Georgian and Victorian architecture seen in the buildings along the main street and the market square. The parish church at the east end of the village is very striking in its architecture. There were no less than 5 previous buildings on this site, and maybe more, as the origins of the first church here are uncertain. My guess is that the first Christian church would have been sometime in the 600s, when the monks from Lindisfarne were at Melrose. Anyway, what is certain is that the church that stood here in 1136 was where King David I signed the charter founding Melrose Abbey, and so it must have had considerable importance in the area at that time. A stone built into the east wall of the church bears the inscription, "Old Rhymer's race lies in this place." Obviously the resting place of Thomas Learmont, challenging this legend that he disappeared with a fairy princess. Maybe. The church we see today was built in 1892 to a design by the architects Hardy and Wright. Leader water flows gently past the western fringe of Thirlstane, almost unnoticed, as it meanders southward through heavily wooded riverbanks for about 3 miles until it reaches the Tweed. But before it does so, it passes another baronial mansion at Dry Grange. Grange Hall, as it was called, was designed by Charles Kinnear in 1887 for the owner Edward William Sprott. His son Edward Mark Sprott was a famous cricketer who captained Hampshire. In 1953 it became a college, and that was sold in 1987 to St Andrew's Nursing Home. In 2001 it was sold again and it became Dry Grange Care Home, and it still operates as such today. Leader water curls around Grange Hall amidst heavily forested embankments, then slips quietly into the Tweed without a fuss and barely noticed. Well folks, that's it for this particular episode. As usual, if you've liked it, then please give me the thumbs up and the like. Subscribe if you haven't already done that. Pass the link to the video on to someone else, a friend or a family member. Encourage them to subscribe. Those of you who wish to contribute financially to the channel, go to the blue PayPal link at the top of my homepage. And everybody, please watch the programme right through till the end, till the music's faded away and the last title has disappeared off the screen, because it's only then that it gets recorded as a full view by YouTube. Anyway, with all of that said, I wish you all goodbye for now. Farewell, good health, and I'll see you all again extremely soon in the next episode. Bye for now.